Alright folks, my name is Freyn and today I'm going to be doing the first of what I will be referring to as archive videos. This is basically some footage I had from sort of a patch or two ago. A game that at the time I was very pleased with, but something about the footage stopped me from making a video at the time. In this particular case, I'd had some microphone issues, so I chose to reinstall my drivers that morning, and without realising it had reset all my settings related to audio and merged all the tracks into one, so I couldn't separate the music or the microphone from the game. So it was set aside in the hopes that I could someday salvage it into something usable, and it's just been sat there ever since. I should probably really use it by now. I've made the decision today that we're going to finally do that. So I'm going to do some post commentary over the top, and we're going to stick a little bit of quiet music in the background to fill in those little blank points where I'm not really speaking. But on with the show. This is the 10.5 King Tiger, the slightly longer reload and slightly better engine than the regular King Tiger. Although I don't have the better engine in this particular game. I've just got parts and FPE, I don't have an upgraded shell, and as you can see I am on El Alamein, where I've already spotted a T92 out near the A point. Failed to get the one shot, and now this is where the longer reload really suffers. It would have been great to finish him off there while he was in the open instead of him getting behind these trees, but as I'm not in the regular King Tiger, I couldn't get that shot off in time and ended up missing my follow-up. I'm constantly checking around trying to see if there's anything visible off to the left, a more appealing target, something that's a little more likely to actually die in one shot instead of having the overpen. I'm really not quite sure how to play this map anymore. I used to always head to B. I've always tried to avoid the sort of the giant scrap that occurs over the C point and secure one of the other objectives, but B hasn't been going too well for me lately. So for this game I decided I'm going to come out somewhere between A and B. We'll keep an eye on these dunes, and once I think it's clear, which I'm do at this point, I'm going to start moving up and see if I can flank into B. It's a very awkward route to take because you've got to drive up a long hill with your back completely exposed to the A point, and more importantly to the enemy spawn. So you've really got to make sure that this area is clear and nothing is going to reappear down here first before you try and make that maneuver. And we've got two friendlies on A, so I'm pretty sure that's secure. Can't see anything out in the dunes still, so I'm just making the advance, just going for cover. Just give us that one last chance to have a look around before I try and make the maneuver into B. But it all seems clear. Seems being the important word here. Just as I started to make the move up towards the hill, there is an M46 in the background there, just driving across. Something else which I hadn't noticed as well, just below my crosshair, but go for the M46. He's the one that's moving. He's the one that's most likely to get out of sight before I can reload. So I'll pick him off. Notice that there's just a little bit of gun smoke coming out from over behind those rocks, so I know I've got company in that direction that I need to watch for as well. If they notice me sat out here in the semi-open and decide to peek, it's going to end up hurting. Now that's a Vickers MBT. He doesn't appear to have noticed me. He's turning his turret, so just peek up a little bit and wait for the gun to stop rocking. Go for the hull. It's a very weak hull on the Vickers, and if you don't manage to get the ammo, which in this case I did, then it's going to go straight into the crew compartment anyway. Nice, easy kill. It's got a dangerous gun, but it's really nothing to be concerned about in the armor department. So that's two taken out from in the dunes. Obviously didn't get the T92 early, so we're at 2 kills. There's still whatever's behind that, and there we go. That'll be an M56, gunner down, no hull breaks, I didn't get any of the modules. and he's going to scurry off and become just an ever so slight thorn in my side. But I've also got to be aware of the fact that both my allies at A have since died, and I've got two players who I've just taken out who definitely know I'm here and are quite likely going to want to try and get some revenge. There's the M56 taking another go. My turret and breach down. Can't quite get the machine gun on him, so I'm just going to have to sit here and hope that he doesn't decide to go for another shot. Thankfully I've got a good crew in this tank though, so relatively short repair. We're all back up and running. Still not exactly easy to spot him, and as said, got to watch out for anything coming from that spawn, so quick check and reverse back slightly further behind the rock. Got to constantly remind myself to check my position, make sure that I'm not visible to more directions than I would like. But that's the M56 dealt with. Another quick check. Always keeping an eye on the terrain, and deciding I'm probably going to go for a reverse up the hill instead. It'll take longer, but it's much safer. Far less likely to lose my engine and be trapped out in the open. But in the meantime, an enemy has made it to the A point, so that's further around to my flank, something else to be aware of. And I think it's about time to abandon the push to B. We'll instead focus on defending A. I'm pretty sure, looking at the map, that we're probably going to lose this. We're ahead on tickets, but far behind on the vehicles front. They appear to be camping our spawn at C. We're not really going to get that back. We're unlikely to get B right now, although there are a few people heading there. So let's just see if I can clear down here and try and hold the A cap, so at least we have one cap to stem that ticket bleed. Poor opening shot on the side of, I'm not sure it's T29 or T34. I could have gone for the rear of the turret or the rear of the engine instead. Turret side was a little too angled. That's a bit better, no breach on him. He's obviously in a bit of trouble, especially if that Panther F decides to push down. He's not going to be able to defend himself. I know how I wish this had the fast reload of the regular 2H. But not to worry. That's T29 down, it was a 29. So we're only up to 3 kills, it's not exactly the quickest game, and obviously I'm running out of things to say to fill the time. But there is a tank just around this corner on the left. It's revealed itself by trying to shoot into the cap. I did see a shot go across, although judging by the angle, quite possibly further up the hill. In fact, there it is. So this is a Walker Bulldog. There is actually something else behind it, but I wasn't sure what. And I decided in the end to go for the Bulldog, because even though it's got less capability to run away being further exposed, I was also more likely to actually hit it. So sure, the other tank may get away, but at least it means that something is out, as opposed to me completely missing, hitting the rock, and then having them both sort of scurry off. But it did look like an M56. We've already killed one over there. It's quite possible they've used a backup and come back. But there's nothing really going on for the next minute or so while I sit here waiting for him to reappear, so we'll move ahead. So I'm backing up, having finally given up on any idea that M56 was going to come back, when I realise we've just lost a player at the A cap. Not entirely sure where the shot came from, but the best bet is that it's going to be up at B. You've got a very good view down that hill towards it, so take a look up there and see a little FV4202 peeking over the hill. Just scuffed the shot, just a little too low, scraping the underneath instead of hitting that lower plate. But he now knows I'm here, and he's backing up. Completely out of view, but of course also worth noting he wasn't what killed the guy at A. That was actually a Vickers MBT. Now I didn't see this at the time, and I'm now pretty much just focused on the FV, assuming that that's where the threat is coming from. But he's obviously not going to re-peek while he knows I'm here and looking at him, so we're just trying to back up, use the binoculars to glance over the hill instead, and hopefully get out of his line of sight so I can reposition, come at it from another side. Maybe even that M56 is back and will present me with a different target to focus on. So go over there, check for that, get a different angle on the FV when here comes an M26. Nice easy shot through his upper plate. It's not going to resist this gun. We've got another tank there driving across, and the FV has resurfaced as well due to my repositioning. Now that's a Falcon. So one into the turret, nice and easy. It's only a 3 crew tank. Pretty much always a guaranteed one shot unless you're shooting sort of side on through the engine compartment. But we're getting into an increasingly bad spot. I don't want to spoil this for you, but we don't end up winning this game, as you may imagine. They've got 2 caps, we've only got the 1. We've got very few players left, and I'm pretty much trapped down here in a constant engagement, as there is always tanks appearing. There's nothing else going on the map, so they're all coming here to try and get the remaining kills. But quick polar shot at the FV gets rid of him. I should have also been able to pen his roof, or just above the gun, but I didn't want to take the risk, so we went for the cupola, and it all worked out just right. I figure now might actually be my best opportunity to try and get to the B point after all. Until I lost my my companion 10.5 as well. That's another T29 down here. They just keep coming. I've been stuck here the whole game really, no opportunity to leave. Which wouldn't be too bad if we held the rest of the map. Obviously I'm down here getting kills. That's all I really need to do, that's my contribution to the game. We have the cap, and as long as I can protect it, we're okay. Or would be, rather, okay, if we had control of either B or C. I'm up to 9 kills now. Still no real hope of any victory. We've got tickets left, but there's just no way I'm going to be able to get to that cap point. And if I do somehow manage to get my way up the hill, A is going to be lost. Almost guaranteed there will be someone coming this way. In fact, we can just see a little bit of movement in the background there. And at this stage I've all but resigned myself to defending A. Especially as there is now a second vehicle coming here as well. We've already seen one in the background, don't know what it was, but here comes a Carnarvon as well. So that's kill number 10. Again, game is pretty much a guaranteed loss at this stage. I've only got one other player on my team on the ground, and yeah, given that this is the only area of the map that is remotely clear, he's spawned down here as well. And so that's very much going to delay any approach to the B point. And that's pretty much it for action this game. A good round, not a victory, maybe not the best one to show, but I did enjoy the battle. I had a good personal performance, and it's just a shame that I didn't really have the backup from the team. And so let's move on to another game. This time it is Italy, single cap, right in the centre of the map. My team has already pushed on ahead of me. Obviously, as you would expect, the King Tiger isn't exactly the quickest to the battle. So my team's gone in, they've taken the cap, and I'm just arriving a little bit late, and unlike, it seems, all the little blue markers on my minimap, I'm intending to sit and defend the cap. From people like this, primarily, the Carnarvon trying to charge in there and get a kill. Just spotted some movement over behind that fence, so let's take a look. That looks like a missile sticking over the top. There we go, BMP-1. Didn't see me knocking over that tree or shooting the Carnarvon, thankfully. That's kill number 2 already, nice and quick. Now, Conquest, being a single cap, does mean that I can potentially not have the problem that I had in the previous battle. I can sit and I can defend it, and it doesn't really matter if my team can't, hold the rest of the map as much, because I can take this one location. Of course, it still does matter overall, because if my team does lose the rest of the map without causing significant damage, then the enemy can come and flank me, and I've got a long reload. I'm not super mobile, so I can't react to threats instantly as soon as I would like. This is going to rather hamper my ability to hold this cap on my own if necessary. Still though, much easier to do than in domination. Now there is an enemy taking the A point at the moment. He's not visible to me, which means he must be on the other side of that building. We do have 3 tanks on that side of the cap. I was rather hoping they would be able to get a shot and prevent them from capping without me having to move myself. I've got a decent bit of cover. I'm trying to keep this side of the cap clear. And I really don't want to have to move. We saw what happened to the Carnarvon with my shot at the start when he drove out across the open. I don't want to suffer the same fate. I shouldn't really have to suffer the same fate due to my team's position. Sadly, that's not really working out to plan. Now there was a tank just drove across there. It doesn't appear to have died. Still not seen whatever recapped A resurface. That's not coming to view. There we go. Speak of the devil. Just gone behind a rock, so no shot. If I keep backing up, just keep checking my angles, make sure I don't get shot on the side. I should be able to shoot it here as it crosses the road. IS-6, so side turret, not the angled hull. One shot, take it out, and let's get back into my little relatively safe position behind this tower. Of course, not entirely safe. As you can see, there is nothing to the north of me. Quite likely to get shot in the back from that direction. And, we still don't even have the cap. Plus, I'm losing the allies that are around me. There was a gunshot just briefly over there. That's Centurion Mark 10. Again, nice and easy to one-shot those. If you manage to get a penetration, which, from the side, isn't particularly hard to do. But it's about time. Yeah, I think this is the most clear I'm going to get it for a while. I've got another Tiger 2H that's pushed around onto that side of the little town area. Hopefully I should be slightly less in danger during this push. So I'm going in, I'm going to get the recap. And obviously spoke too soon, as there goes the King Tiger. There's also a couple of planes coming in. And my little sub-alert filling half the screen. But I'm recapping. Hopefully some of those teammates that have just respawned will come back my way. Of course, this is a German 6.7 team, so the majority of them aren't going to be hugely mobile. They're going to be a bit slow to arrive. And in the meantime, I'm going to have to fend off everything on my own. Particularly as quite a few of them seem to be just attempting to push right around the edge of the map towards the spawn, completely unfocused on the cap. Unlike the enemy team, which is just constantly pouring out the woodwork. I can't complain too much, they are giving me kills, but it would be nice to see my own team have that sort of objective focus. Not that their team is without spawn camping, of course, as well. There's currently a little red marker right behind our northern spawn. But I've just been shot in the back, I've got no breach. All my crew are in a rather bad way. I could really do with some help right now. So right now my plan is just run and hope the enemy decides to focus on the cap instead of myself. They've been focusing on it all game. Hopefully this is no different. And thankfully they did. My own team, of course, still not really giving that focus to the cap. It would have been really great to pop out and shoot the enemy before they finish this cap, avoid them getting the spawn points, avoid them getting a cap that I now have to clear out and retake again, and especially to avoid revealing exactly where I've gone to with that gunshot. But I didn't really have any choice. That T-34 would have shot me in the side if I'd tried to make this manoeuvre first, so it was definitely the right call. But it looks like now the FV is going out to try and work out where I went. He is a little more manoeuvrable than me. He's certainly got the faster firing gun and the stabilizer on his side. But he also seemed completely oblivious to the fact that I started decapping within, a couple of seconds of him moving off the point. So perhaps not going looking for me after all. I've regained one teammate in the area. Also lost several more around the spawn points. As much as the enemy has been certainly more objective focused than us this entire game, they haven't been entirely objective focused. They've pushed through and they've completely locked down our spawns. Now, had our team all stayed at the objective at the start after we'd taken it, then we may not have even needed those spawns. We could have just picked off the enemy as they drove towards us. If nobody dies, nobody needs to respawn. Highly unlikely though. You're never going to get complete team unity, and you're never going to have a situation where no one dies. Maybe once in a blue moon you'll have a game where none of the enemies get kills, but it's very unlikely. So you can't fully focus on the spawn, you can't fully focus on the objective. Really, you just need a good spread and a little bit of luck. But we've got the cap. I'm again trying to stay in the area. This is the only way we have any hope in winning, is by staying around here and focusing on the objective. Just double checked, there's nothing on this side. My teammate has pinged the map to say that he's got company. So I'm trying to head back. There goes an IS-2 onto the cap. Just ever so slightly too late in the shot though. Half a second, full second earlier, he wouldn't have managed to decap it. And neither of us would have to drive down there and once again expose ourselves to take the point. The one ally I did have with me was a Waffenträger, so he just got taken out by an aircraft. The sad state really of playing anything open topped. The moment anyone gets enough spawn points for a plane, you are going to die. But there's not much I can do now. I could go for the cap. I could try, retake that, see if I can get the objective under control, but it's just going to reveal my position. I know there's more enemies coming in. I know they've got aircraft up. Giving it a big alarm bell to say, here I am, is not going to go very well. So we'll just get the kills we can. Evidently not the super Pershing. That thing is an absolute powerhouse since the penetration changes. And now there's an STRV on my flank. So that's the end of this game. 8 kills. Again, another loss sadly. Team just entirely unfocused on the objectives. But we tried. And with that we move on to the last and final battle of today. It's going to be a long video again. Just trying to keep all the footage sort of unified together. That's a T-114 down already. I absolutely despise those things, so I'm very glad to have killed him early on. He did get to the cap before any of us. Not ideal, and we've already started to lose a few players towards the north side of the map as well, so it looks like we've got a few enemies pushing around that way. I'm going to try and focus my efforts over there, limit the angles I can be shot from. My team is this time very focused around the objective, so that's great. And thankfully, the M36 doesn't appear to be too focused on working out where the shots have come from. Just drove to the corner, checked around it. Checking your corners is a very, very good thing to get into the habit of. I've been rather failing on that myself a bit lately. But of course, checking in front of you is probably even more important. That's a T-34 just slipped through. I was Slightly too late on the reload. I backed up to try and make sure he didn't come shooting out the other side of the forest, which meant that I didn't see this IS-2 straight away either. But he's down, that's kill number 4, and keeping this side of the map mostly locked down. Of course I have no line of sight on anything that might go fully into the town, but anything trying to come across this field is pretty much in my territory, as it were. Just got to keep an eye out for that T-3485 that slipped through. There's the T-34, so peek up, receive the shot, because unless he's loaded APCR, which is incredibly unlikely, he's not going to get through the front of that turret. His best hope would be trying to hit my barrel and then flanking around me, which I would hope wouldn't occur, primarily because he couldn't fully see my barrel through that little tree line, and secondly because I've got people around me that I would really hope would prevent him from doing that. That's kill number 6 on a jumbo in the background. We have the cap. My team is fully focused around here, which gives us a very good chance of winning this game. As we could see from the last game, the enemy capture focus really helped. The only danger, as said, is something going through that town, getting into a good overview of the spawn, and slowly working in behind us as we start to run out of troops. And perfect timing, of course. There's the Super Hellcat behind me, and we've got a little red marker coming up towards the spawn on the minimap. That's what the enemy are doing. They are starting to push around and try and cut off our reinforcements. As long as we don't lose too many people at the cap, of course, this isn't the absolute end of the world. But that's the Super Hellcat down, and my allies have taken out the medium that was near the spawn as well. So we can start pushing back in. We've still got that cap control. Second wave is on its way. We should be pretty solid for this. Of course, Tiger's not really the best in an urban environment, and the cap is, as always, an urban environment. But we've got that big open field approach to it. If we've already got it locked down, we should be fine. It's like we have to fight in the town. We can just push slightly past the cap and take them out before they get there. That's a T-44. Only the track, not really significant damage. It allows him to just turn and try and get out of sight. I can still get a shot, but it's pretty narrow. And of course now, as you can see, I'm in the regular King Tiger instead. Tiger 2H, much faster reload than the 105. Not that the reload really held me back so far. I mean, of course, my death came from the flank from the Super Hellcat, but having that faster rate of fire would certainly have made things a bit easier. I would have been able to take out all those previous targets a lot quicker. That T-34 would have never had a chance to get out of sight, for instance. I may not have still been there when the Super Hellcat showed up. I probably would have cleared things out a lot faster, had less concern about staying safe during my reload, and just simply pushed forwards. But here comes PT-76, which, as much as it is a rather terrible vehicle, it is still potentially dangerous. He does have the pen to get through me, he does have a stabilizer. If he'd got my breach in any way, I would be rather done for. Thankfully he didn't, and my crew swapping time is actually roughly the same as his reload. He failed with the second shot. Again, it could have gone badly. I was a little too overconfident there, primarily because it's simply a PT-76 and we all know how bad they are. But I managed to get away with it, and this game's looking pretty solid for us. Playing with the regular Tiger 2 from the start would have probably been the better bet, especially given the stock-ish state of my 105. Having that faster reload just makes such a difference, and with your stock ammunition on the 105, you've pretty much got the same penetration as well. That said, of course, how are you ever going to stop it from being stock if you don't play it? But this game is looking pretty solid. I'm quite surprised I actually managed to get that Super Pershing killed there. He was a little bit reclined, which made his lower plate slightly less angled, but I've sort of given up on trying to work out what's a reliable pen for them lately. Sometimes I'll go through, clean through the upper plates. I think just after it got its BR lowered and buffed, I managed to get mine penned through the front by a Puma and a Tiger in the same game, which was just slightly confusing. But lately, they seem to be an absolute powerhouse. Real nightmare to run into, unless you know it's on reload and can take your time over your shot. This has been a good, solid game for me so far. I've just received another shot from the side. It seems that really what I said before about the main danger being from that town has continued to be true. Pretty much all the danger this game has come from over here. Just a couple of players who had no interest in the cap and just wanted to keep going round towards our spawn. But that's the end of this game. It's finally a win, and that's also the end of the video. So if you don't mind this sort of archive format, let me know and I'll keep doing them. I do have a few other bits of old footage sat around that I could use. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.